My name's Larissa, and I'm from America, Tennessee, city called Memphis,
And where do you live?
in Moscow, Russia.
Okay. How long have you been living in Russia?
I've lived here since 2014, but I moved away in 2016 for about 9 months, but then I came back in 2017.
What did you know about Russia before you came?
To be honest, absolutely nothing except it's the language that people spoke in Ukraine.
Uh huh. So, what was your first impression?
Coming to Russia, I was living in Ukraine before that, so I went to sleep on a train, and when I woke up, I couldn't even notice that I was in a different country. So,
What is the main difference between Russians and Americans, in your opinion?
the main difference, I think that Russians are a little more gloomy, and I don't know. I feel like everybody here is like a character in some kind of apocalyptic movie sometimes. Versus, I think in America, we're a little bit more relaxed and not so, I don't know, trying to survive so hard.
Can you describe Russia in 3 words?
Ooh, 3 words. Uh, Cold, surprising, and big.
Okay. Would you recommend your American friends to move to Russia for a while?
That is an interesting question. Which American friends? Because, are you talking about a white guy? Yeah, of course. Are you asking me about like my trans friends, my gay friends, my black friends? That's a whole nother story. Depends on what they're doing and how much money they have and the kind of things they're interested in.
So, you hint on some kind of racism and discrimination exists in this country. Like, what is this about?
Well, I mean, I think it's gotten better since 2014, but if you don't want to feel like some kind of, exotic animal, better not, come to the suburbs of Moscow. I mean, if you're going to work for some really nice company and make a lot of money and live in the center and hang out in the center, I think you'll be okay. But you're still going to have to deal with people kind of looking at you like, you're some kind of exotic creature and not necessarily another person. It's like you have the word foreigner written on your forehead.
Uh, so, have you ever dealt with some kind of racism? What is your personal experience?
Oh boy, a lot, a lot. I'm dealing with, it's a lot better than it used to be, but I've dealt with a lot of street harassment. Like people yelling something. I don't speak Russian super well, thank goodness, so I can't exactly tell you what people say to me, but, people laughing, yelling some things, pointing. Once on a train, some guy, was telling me something about returning to my country, but I'm really curious about which country he's speaking about, but, I kind of shrugged it off like, yeah, I wish I could go back to my country, and I'm sure you would like it there too.
So, so you think Moscow is not very comfortable place for non-Slavic or black people?
It's a comfortable place for me, but again, like, who am I? What do I do? You'd have to ask, like, an African student this question to get a real answer, because what I'm telling is going to be like maybe the 1% of black people in Moscow that aren't Russian. I'm like, there's probably a handful of other, like, black American girls here.
Okay, what was the hardest part for you in Russia?
I'd say the hardest part would have been the street harassment, or just like, like my friends talk about, oh, I'm gonna go here and there. Sometimes I don't feel like leaving my house if I have to go somewhere far away, because I don't feel like someone looking at me. But to be honest, like, I guess it's not that big of a problem. And I mean, aside from that, just people's attitude here, some of the most things that you would think would be the easiest task are really tedious sometimes.
Okay, what would you change in Russia
What would I change?
to make it more comfortable for foreigners like you?
Mentalities. I think that, like, people should think in a more, like, less apocalyptic and more like about how to improve the country as a whole. I think everybody is full of self-interest, and I think the result is like, how can I secure these things for my family, instead of being like, how can I change the culture of the country to be a place where everyone wants to live? Because I think that like even people with resources are like thinking about like, how can I improve things for my family? Like, how do I give my family the tools for survival? And the result of that is, you know, you just get a place where it's kind of unpleasant for everybody.
So, you know, last year's Russia is like a big thing in Western media. It's like not with a good reputation. So, what is like your impression about Russian from the Western media in Russia, inside of Russia?
I think that like in the Western media, they make Moscow seem like some wild place where, you know, some bears are bicycling in the street and everybody's like worshiping Putin, and everyone's just some narrow-minded, uneducated person. But I think the reality of Moscow is much different. Even when my friends and my mother came here, they said the same thing, like, oh, this is not nearly as wild as I thought it would be, because they find that things are quite tame, and in some ways it's more developed than where we're from.
Okay, what kind of Russia you can see like in 5 years in the future?
To be honest, I think things are getting better. I mean, even comparing right now and 5 years ago when I first came here, it's almost like an entirely different country. You know, like I had a much more negative attitude when I first came here, but now I'd say I'm pretty content with my life and the things that I do, and I think in 5 years it could only be even better.
Okay, let's hope together. Thank you.